Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Nice to now takes it away. Coming in and laying it in for two more. And we got a ball game with 7.5 to go. Here's Newton. Rattles out. Yes, even prettier. How about that? Look at Butler. Butler able to lay it in. And here's Hawkins. That's huge. How about that? The way he uses the screen. And they can feel it. They're going to have another double-digit win the way this is going. How about that? Is that appropriate? Don't you know, just someday he'll be a coach of his own program. This is becoming a family dynasty, if you will. And Dutch, what a year he's had too. Hurley and the Huskies have their dreams come true.
You know, you're speechless, and we knew we had a chance in this tournament. We knew we were one of the better teams, but to win every game in the fashion that we did, showed our class, and obviously, I have not many words.
Good morning. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We appreciate you joining us following the men's national championship game, where UConn took down SDSU, a game that was set at 7.5. We both kind of thought, DB, that was a little too much, but UConn proved otherwise all tournament long.
Wasn't near enough.
UConn proved otherwise, and they take it home. They take home the trophy, and as everyone's been proclaiming on social media, blue blood. Blue blood. That's UConn. They're a blue blood.
Yeah. No idea where that even comes from, but they always say that, and it's quietly. I mean, they have racked up
five titles in 4 decades.
So I mean, it's a great program, not a blue blood. I listened to Jim Calhoun the other day because Dan Hurley was on earlier, and he was talking about kind of what the turnaround was at UConn, and he said basically he had a conversation with Jim Calhoun one day, and Jim Calhoun basically told him to suck it up. You're out of school with expectations. Quit complaining. Put your head down and go to work. Stop talking about what you don't have. So the guys in the studio, they kind of laughed and yucked it up. And because sometimes revisionist history, it becomes a better story to tell the more harsh you make it, right? Like, hey, I came out the other end with this stern pep talk, right? Well, they had Jim Calhoun on a couple hours later on the show. Jim Calhoun doubled down and made it sound even worse. It's like, hey, you know what? I told him you're out of school with expectations, right? You want to win a Big East championship? Big deal.
Hey.
Big deal. I won 17 of those. Hey, you want to win a national championship? Okay, I got 3 of those, 4 of those. I mean, come on. You're in Connecticut. I just was like, wow, Jim, like your reputation precedes you. Because you are not known to be very, have a whole lot of humility in your profession. He kind of comes across as that guy, but apparently that story,
it works.
Every
bit,
it
did work.
Every bit of it was true. And now they trail, I believe, only North Carolina, Kentucky, and UCLA for national champions.
So they have 5 national championships. What, in your mind, is a blue blood school then?
I think a historically great program. I don't know if they've been good long enough.
99 was when they won their first, for everyone out there.
So I don't. It's kind of like the LSU discussion in football. Not a blue blood, good program.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't consider UConn a blue blood, but their fan base, man, just one of those fan bases. That's Creighton. They love them.
Well,
so much.
When you're a basketball school, that tends to happen. Now, I thought about this last night, and I guess I'll ask both of you. Shane, you can chime in if you'd like. By the way, nice O-Mavs hat again.
Team Mavs.
As if my head couldn't get any bigger. My hat feels really tight.
I don't. It's just kind of weird.
Really
like you
tight.
wake up with one of those weird things to kind of complain about. How is your hat? So did you not try it on before you bought it? And why are you wearing it then? Because if you start to get a headache and pass out,
I'll do the show without you. I'll just let you lay there.
Maybe
No.
on your own
So
there.
I grabbed the hat, but I didn't put it on.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed it out of my closet, brought it downstairs, typed up my notes. Still didn't have it on. Got into my car, then put it on.
You're like, oh,
And
my
realized, I'm not going back inside.
God. Did your head swell?
I could.
Did you
hold
sleep?
on,
Did you sleep upside down?
Let me air it out real fast.
No, none of that. You didn't sleep
Okay,
upside
there's more
down.
room. No, it's a 7 1/8.
Mhm.
Yesterday's hat was a
That's
7
much
1/8.
smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's a 7 1/8, and I think I need a 7 1/4.
You're gonna be all right.
Nope.
Yeah, Shane.
I don't think so.
Seems
If
very
I
hurt
took
right
off the hat right now, you know what? Here, watch. I bet you could see the line, and this has been on for how long? 5 minutes ish, 5-ish minutes. I
Yeah.
bet you'll see the line of how pressed it is against my hat.
I would not.
You seem very hurt right now.
A little, not
you gonna be
really.
all right?
The hair is not as bad as you said. You still look like oh boy off of Meet the Robinsons, but that's okay.
Stop it.
Dude, you look just like that, dude. I'm just saying.
Hold on, let me get in my time traveling machine and go back home and get a
Go back
different hat
home
on.
and get San Diego State some offense.
Yeah. Oh man, the amount of videos that were coming out too on social media about shooting the basketball, not great. 11 minutes without scoring a bucket in the first half.
How about how
Not
many chippies
great.
they missed?
Yeah.
Like at the rim, I was like, wow.
It was
those are all-
almost as if they felt, gosh, every shot's
Rushed.
going to get blocked.
Yeah, rushed, pressured. You could tell, and sometimes just presence does that to you. I've seen Kalkbrenner do that to people all the time. Like all of a sudden, you get an open look down low, and you're like you're paranoid. Where's he at? Where's he at? And you rush. Like they were. It was a messy basketball.
And
game
Tanogo
last night.
was
Boy, was he
locked
good.
down defensively, and on the offensive side of the basketball, everything was connecting with UConn. Just and obviously this tournament because they outscored their opponents by double digits each game. But I just loved their shot selection and shot making ability while able to do it. They were rolling off screens well. They were pulling up that 3-point jumper with like 10, 12 minutes to go.
Oh, the little catch and shoot from Hawkins.
Little catch and shoot. Oh, I mean, just everything was just
he's
crisp
tough.
and pure. And they just always found the best look. And that was the major difference between them and SDSU offensively last night.
He is they can shoot the basketball when they get it going. Jordan Hawkins was
Now, good on SDSU on making that game close because I know a lot of people, and I was texting with a lot of people too because of how late that game was. They were about to turn it off and go to bed. I know a lot of people that were like, thank goodness SDSU.
They didn't see Jim Nance sign off.
They didn't see it. Nope.
Their moment didn't shine.
Nope. But somebody's moment shined, and Creighton got one fist pump to the ground and a lot of background shots in one shining moment.
Man.
Hey, they just did not want to give the Blue Jays any love in that video.
Kind of Haiti.
Yeah.
Not the country either.
Yeah, well, because even Kalkbrenner's moment was at a point where the music was kind of dying down.
And at
it
one
was getting
point he could
somber.
have easily been in. They win that game. He's not only the regional player. He's not only in the regional player of the tournament discussion. He's making a run.
He's most outstanding
player.
And instead, they're just one little bang the gavel, and that's it.
I was like, wow, Haiti, how mean. Anyway, they I wasn't it's very hard. Like I know Nance is probably like, damn, man, like can we get a close game in my final to
go at it?
Because it's so anticlimactic. It was just like you were looking for a signature call and it just
didn't present itself.
No, but I did like his goodbye. Because I'm a Nance guy.
Same.
I like anybody that can put up with Rome. No, I'm just kidding. I like anybody that can do that many sports. And apparently he can't put up.
And he's doing the Masters, right?
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah. Did you see the? I don't know how much you like watch, but did you see like Grant Hill try to hit golf balls into the cup?
I did. Yes.
Stuff like that is kind of cool.
And he missed.
It was short.
A couple of days ago. He missed.
He was about 3-4 inches
And he
short.
barely run one in.
Story of Shane's life. Yeah.
It
What's
seems
that?
like those games are a little bit harder for play-by-play guys.
Putting?
That are the games that are not close, because then they're not really calling the game. They're more talking about whatever.
Yeah.
So it just seems a little bit off.
The good news is, because of how prestigious the game is, especially this one, you can call the game, whether it's a 30-point blowout or not.
And the cool thing is, Rath has still got game. We know about getting the puppies organized and man-to-man and, the nylon with a kiss, the typical Rath lines. But he's still pretty sharp. Like, I don't mind it at all. And Grant Hill has grown on me quite a bit. I didn't think I was going to like him in the beginning, but I don't know very much, because I also at one point thought Chris Webber had a chance to be good. It was a long time, long time ago.
It's okay. You put your faith in people.
Yeah, man. But I didn't. Again, if it was just a little closer, we may have gotten something. But I mean, I hung in there. Just
his sign-off call, like you said, was great. He mentioned his friends out there, because that's his catchy tagline when he welcomed you in, like, "Hello, friends."
Hello, friends. Yeah.
So,
and we'll see him in just a few short days.
Wearing a green jacket, maybe.
No.
Who knows?
Hey guys,
He's playing, right?
Hey, what's up, coach?
I mean, that's why the Live and PGA are together, right? So Jim Nance can play.
Wait, so did you see any odds on Koepka?
Yeah.
I always look at the Live guys, just to.
And the Masters is, at least Augusta National, is known for helping out those long hitters, but you also have to have some good approach game too, and that's why Koepka tends to be successful. But dude, no one is playing better than Scheffler. Nobody.
You got to be able to putt.
Nobody is playing better than that guy. And
which is why I almost got off of one of my picks. But he's such a good ball striker. He's going to be in it. And
we're saving those for tomorrow. The Masters draft here on Coffee and Cream. I'm excited for the Masters. So it's a great opportunity to really sit down. The weather's warming up. You can watch a little bit outside if you want. You can go back in.
Not us. We're going to be in the 40s tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't understand what's going on.
The weather fluctuates.
Like, how do you just have like?
It'll be nice.
How do you just have like one bad day and then the rest will be fine?
We're gonna be all right.
No, I didn't ask you, Doc. By the way, I want to ride in his bus.
Yeah,
So that's
you were talking about that the other day.
I just know he's going to stop at a couple of good places to eat.
I'm trying to get Omaha's weather report up, and this is just what I get. They don't want to tell me.
I think today is.
They don't
maybe,
want me to be disappointed.
I think today's
I'll put
maybe
my money on Omaha. I would.
In the 70s, and tomorrow's back in the 40s.
How about UNO basketball too, making some headway in the recruit game yesterday?
Yeah. Well, did the early cryptic tweets before people knew what was going on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Like
big fan
with the Omaha Mavs basketball.
And then did you see hockey? Hockey's Twitter page of Jack Randall returning?
But
same type of deal.
So
eyeball emojis. People getting worked up in the comments.
Is that all the hockey news or not so much?
I think we'll hear something.
Okay.
Coming up soon.
I was just checking.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shoot my shot.
I think you'll hear something soon. Although Simon's returning. Cozy's returning, so that's a good deal.
Some guys on the move. My man Sharif Mitchell. Got his portal game right. We didn't talk yesterday.
Did you see him in black and red? As in UNO.
We are making fools.
Yeah, I know that they would very much like that.
UNO or the Mitchell family?
UNO.
Yeah, UNO would love that.
Would very much like that. I could see Omaha putting together a very, 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 very nice package to have
Sharif Mitchell.
Yeah, but I think
their team.
I think there's a couple of schools that will be in the hunt. I would look for a place that has former coaching connections in some way, shape, or form. As kind of the leads on those, folks where he has had familiarity with their staff at previous stops. So it'll be good. I'm happy for him because, and I was with him all day Sunday at UBT. He's just such a good kid. Minds his own business. He's
Easy bake oven.
supporting his little brother. All three of them were there. So CJ, Darnell, and Reef, watching Alvin coach Micah's team. They just come out and support with the family. It's just cool.
Did I ever tell you that my Easy Bake Oven reference didn't go over well with some people on
I
social media?
bypassed it. I skipped right over it too. I cringe. So full disclosure, I cringe at Easy Bake because never had good experience. My sister left all the stuff all over the place, just messy with it, and I never want Zoe to get one. My mom got her a kitchen that has like 7,221 pieces. It is 7,000.
Like a little tiny kitchen?
There's nothing tiny about it. I could barely.
It's your full size kitchen.
Listen, bro. Full disclosure, I could barely get the box up the stairs. She said, "Hey, they delivered Zoe's kitchen," so I went over there to get it, and I'm just. It's 4 feet by, 9 inches, right? How heavy can it be? Yeah, we dragged that down the stairs. Seriously.
What's it made out of?
Well, it's like got wood. It's like that legit real wood pieces.
It. Okay, so it's not like that cheap plastic.
No, but in a box that you think that you should be able to carry. I was on the struggle
bus. 2 people.
And that thing has lasted for it's still going, and it has 400 accessory pieces. So when people say those kinds of things, it gives me the willies.
Gives you some.
Plus, I don't want her to feel.
Feelings.
I don't want her to feel like she has to be in the kitchen if she doesn't want to be. Go get her a lawnmower.
Yeah, go for it. So do whatever, right?
The Easy Bake toxic masculinity at its finest, man. Team DB. Yeah. Let's go. I'm just playing.
The Easy Bake Oven reference was only in reference to the fact of how the Easy Bake Oven worked. It wasn't like the product that comes out of the Easy Bake Oven. And I don't think people understood that, but I explained it because I said, Sharif Mitchell is a guy that he's electric and he doesn't need any light bulbs, meaning he essentially knows where he should be all the time.
He's just always ready.
And he's a speedy player, and he can provide some flashes of
it's a good egg
of just great basketball. And that was the idea behind the Easy Bake Oven. People didn't get it, but that's beside the point.
We didn't talk about because it happened over the weekend, and we knew that Sauter was going to go grab that exclusive, but Isaac Trout obviously lands at Creighton,
which is a big addition too. If you think about what's the status of Arthur Kaluma moving forward,
and what could potentially happen, with the rest of that basketball team, which I think would be interesting. Because if they stay in relative tact, which I think they will, I expect Kalkbrenner to be back. I think they'll have to probably wait on Trey Alexander, right? You may not know until June, whenever when get the drafts stuff. But they got some pieces, and it's become a desirable destination too. Their NIL is on point.
And that's a huge deal to retain the roster because if you're Trey Alexander and you think, hey, I'll be a second-round draft pick this year, I'm not saying he makes it all about money, but at the end of the day, it's nice to have it.
Yeah.
So where would you rather be? Would you rather be competitive in college and still make a good amount of money, or go to the league and chase your dream, or maybe wait a year, whatever it is for him? He'll make his decision, like you said, probably closer to June when he kind of knows where he's going to be. But would you rather play Big East basketball or play in the G League?
Yeah. And you can make G League money at Creighton.
Easy.
So, that's like Caitlin Clark. It's what's Caitlin Clark going to do? And I'm stay paid.
She's going to stay and play senior year of basketball in Iowa. She's going to have a bunch of endorsements.
Although that's starting five, though.
For her next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They played 93 games together, which was
no Cesano, though.
No, I know it. So, college basketball was interesting. Hunter Salas has entered the portal. It's going to be
has a ton of people asking for his name.
I think it's going to be a 4-horse race, so we'll see. And spent a nice amount of time with my man Chucky Hepburn on Saturday, who was watching basketball at UBT. My man had on like a champagne pink sweatsuit.
So he stood out like a sore thumb.
Oh, it was so sweet. He minds his own business.
Right.
He was just watching his dad coach. He doesn't bother anybody. We told him we see him tomorrow. He's going to open up the gym for Micah. It's the only way I could get Micah to ride with me. Can he play basketball? It's like he's not interested in anything else.
Nice.
So, I don't buy into I don't subscribe to the Chucky Hepburn on the move rumors. But the other two were poorly kept secrets, Trout and Salas. One is still on the move. One the Eagle has landed.
One came home.
The Blue Jay has landed.
Which, with Trout too, like that, I think what people tend to overlook with that move is he moved for one. He wanted to be closer to home, but that enhanced his mental health by getting closer to home and being mentally strong,
especially
as a
college,
basketball player.
It's hard.
And in college, yes, are huge two huge things. Yes, he had a little extra pull with his girlfriend being present at Creighton too, but to be able to put up with the trials and tribulations of college basketball when you're playing well, when you're not playing well, it's easier to be when you're surrounded by the people that love you and when you feel most comfortable. So that move, I think, is just going to enhance his game altogether.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get right upstairs. Not to say that he wasn't.
No, but I mean, but
it helps.
When you're comfortable someplace, you tend to work better as opposed to when you're uncomfortable in an environment. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. And Jason Green, right? We'll see what happens with Kaluma. I don't think he comes back. That roster will change a little bit. So
I think it's still, you look up and down that roster though and think,
how
much are you losing if you only lose one piece?
If your core comes back, they obviously have to replace a defensive presence in Mitchell. And if your core comes back though, that's a team that's good basketball.
I mean, I don't know where they'll be pre-ranked next year, and I don't want to assume either, but that's a team that could easily make another Sweet 16 Elite 8 run.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's and how quiet was it last week, or was that the week before last? It kind of came and went in the night that Husk got hired at North Point.
Yes.
I was just like,
yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, or High Point. I was like, wait a minute. Are we going to act like he just didn't lose in the system? Because I think Husk got another job, but I don't know.
Flew under the radar.
It did, because there was so many other things kind of going on, but it's going to be interesting in college basketball. I think Ed Cooley's still got one more big hire to make, I think, in June. Big East is looking up.
Yeah,
and everybody's got new rosters, right?
Yeah, you've been dead set on that Ed Cooley hire, and I'm going to give you a lot of credit if it happens.
Well, I think it's what he needs at that school to. If you're going to go against the Patinos and the Creightons, and it doesn't appear that UConn's going anywhere.
Blue blood.
Would you stop? Oh, man.
Hey, I do have a question, though, about UConn when we come back out of the break. I want you, out of the 5 national championship teams in school history, where does this UConn team rank? We'll get into that. More Coffee and Cream next here on Hail Varsity Radio.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hat has come off. It's too tight. It was way too tight.
It's all good, man. I
didn't
didn't want to have to get you a box of Kleenex, man. It was some whining going on.
I took it off, and DB goes, yeah, it's red.
Yeah.
Yeah, your forehead's red.
I don't even know why you were gutting it. I just would have been like, man, forget it.
Yeah,
Bad hair or hurt head. Give me the bad hair.
probably. This is, I don't know, this is award-winning hair.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
We only talk to award winners on this show.
Oh, I see what you did.
And we're talking to one right now. Out of the blue, we threw a curveball at you, 12-6 to our audience out there. We'll get into that question that I prompted going into the break in a few minutes. But let's talk to the award-winning Joel Lorenzi, U.S. Basketball Writers Association Rising Star Award winner. That has a nice ring to it. Joel, good morning. How does it feel?
Good morning, guys. It feels good, man. I was low-key overwhelmed with the love yesterday, man. I mean, I felt more love yesterday than I felt in the last 2 birthdays I can remember. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's interesting because I think I always like when you can win awards from like your peers and be recognized for your work, but it's not just that. See, I think, and I said this last week, and I've been saying it all year, right? Low key, a different kind of beat writer for this basketball team that didn't necessarily conform because things had been covered a certain way before you, right? So it took some stones, obviously, to and some conviction and some confidence and some resolve. And man, it's like that was pretty cool, man. Like I felt like, I don't know, like I was proud. You know what I mean? It was just like, because I think what you're really, really good at, sometimes if you're not paying attention, you'll miss, right? Because you have to be paying attention. I'm glad game recognized game. That was impressive, man. Really impressive.
I appreciate you, and you ain't got to worry about me bringing stones. I'm gonna bring that every time. I'm from the west side of Chicago, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring stones every time.
Yeah, just make sure to bring your laptop too.
Yeah, my man said, I forgot he got on you one time about that. You said his computer. He's like, man, I'm from Chicago, man. Like, what am I worried about?
I'm gonna bet on myself every time, man. I was telling him, no, you're right. I was telling him in my speech yesterday, I'm like, you know, you go through the year, because you're right. Like, my coverage, people had to take it differently than, you know, the people before me. I don't think they had seen anything like me in terms of the way I had approached the job and the level of, you know, objectivity I had and whatnot. And so, like, I wasn't sure. People didn't welcome me with open arms at first, and I'm not sure they still do. I mean, I get some love here and there, but I'm not sure it's this resounding thing. And you can't make everybody happy anyway, but I was telling them, like, you know, in a town like that, you know, you're just writing your life away. Because granted, like, I don't know too many people out there. So you're just writing your life away, just hoping that somebody is clinging on to the words the same way that you are when you're writing them. And something like that award lets you know, like, okay, maybe you're doing something right.
I've been there, done that. I know exactly how you feel, Joel. And, you know, before we get into some NBA talk, because I know DB's been itching to hit you up on that, I want to ask you.
Oh, man.
I want to ask you first about Sharif Mitchell hitting the portal, a hometown kid doing what's best for him. What do you think lies ahead for him? Because he's a guy that will make a lot of teams happy.
Yeah, I think you know, I think there's going to be a mid-major that will be happy to have him. I mean, if I had to do an early crystal ball, I don't know who he's been in contact with. But if I had to do an early crystal ball, I'm sure UNO has a good shot at him. I know they want him. I saw one of the players recruiting him yesterday. I'm sure he'd like to stay home and, you know, make that happen. He has to find league to play in the summer league. So is that the summer league? I'm trying to think.
Yep.
Right. And so I think he'd do fine over there. I think it'll be a much better fit than Creighton was. He'd get a better opportunity than he did this year. So if I had to do a crystal ball, that's mine right there.
So when you're looking at this team, right? So they have the addition of Isaac Trout. You've got Jason Green, who they're very high on. We'll see what happens with Art. I believe Kalk comes back. I don't know anything. I just my gut. They'll obviously have to probably wait on Trey, you know, to the last, you know, to probably June. This team on paper, though, man, it's hard. And I'm saying, this is full disclosure, it's hard to run it back after a deep run because sometimes you want to fast forward through the details, right, and just get back to where you were.
Sure.
But on paper, with their experience, I'm not throwing out expectations, but man, they could be for sure equally as good.
Oh yeah, of course. They should be better because I think this time around they know they know how to recruit the reserves this time around. They know that they can't recruit reserves in a way that they'll find themselves putting too much pressure on their starting lineup down the not just down the stretch, but to start the year. I think that was really what hurt them was that, while they couldn't control most of their schedule, they controlled who they played during their early schedule, and leaning so heavily on your starters. Granted, I probably would have did the same thing, but leaning so heavily on your starters like to the bench probably coming around too late and whatnot. So, and then I don't think Farabella was ever really meant to be the sixth man. I think that's a lot of pressure on him. So I know now they're making the right steps now where that situation I don't think will happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so they should be better this time next year, I think.
Hey, looking toward the NBA, Joel, when trading for Kyrie, that was essentially supposed to be the move that solidified the Mavs.
Bro, Joel liked that move. I told him he was
playoffs.
crazy.
I know, and that's why I'm bringing it up.
Now, that's tough.
No, I'm not.
How you gonna treat an award winner?
I'm not taking a shot at Joel.
Joel, come on, Chicago.
He's interested.
Get in, Chicago.
Maybe I should ask him more if the Bulls are going to make the playoffs because that's what I'm most worried about.
Anything about the Bulls? I don't care about the Bulls. I don't want to hear about them at all.
Hey, but when looking at the Mavs, now it's not a worry about making the playoffs, but shutting down Kyrie and Luka. What do you attribute not making the playoffs more to for this team? Would you say it's bad leadership or bad chemistry?
Both of those are probably a factor there. But I think we knew, like, when I came over here and said that I liked the move, I always liked it long term. I wasn't sure about the short term. I thought they could maybe make a bit of noise in the playoffs just off, the star power alone and the guard play. But it was always a long-term move, I think. Like it raised their ceiling to where, like, okay, when you finally build around these dudes is when you can really make something shake. But we knew, like, their defense was bad before they dealt for Kyrie. It got worse when they traded away Dorian Finney-Smith. And so this shouldn't be a huge shock. I mean, I'm surprised at how it's going, the way it's going down in Flames. But they're not done yet. And I don't think Kyrie will leave. I think as long as he stays, they'll have an opportunity while this free agency pool isn't great this summer, if I remember correctly. They'll have the opportunity to get better over the summer and really, have a chance to compete. And so much of this too, not to say like Luka's been bad, but they run him into the ground to start the year, man.
Yeah, and he's not built for that.
Yeah,
because he doesn't appear to be committed to fitness.
Yeah, and few dudes have this amount of usage and are as important to their team as him. I mean, the load he carries is unreal.
Let me get you out of here on this, Joel, because I need a little pick-me-up. And I know they get probably the enigmatic Andrew Wiggins back shortly. But what he's dealing with, man, all bets are off. I'm not riding with that as a man if rumors are true.
Yeah.
Do you take the Lakers long term this year or Golden State? Both right there. Golden State's +1 in the win column, I think. You like Golden State or Los Angeles? I'll
probably take Golden State only because that group, most of that group, was there last year. The Lakers, I really, really like the pieces they added. I think they get better with each game, but they got some things to figure out still, I think.
Get my man Street Clothes back in the lineup because he's playing well.
Hey, man, stop that.
No, I know. I don't mind AD. I'm riding with him.
Hey, thanks, Joel.
He's great.
Hey, we appreciate you, Joel.
Always.
Thanks, buddy. Man. Safe travels.
And congratulations again. Brandon Vogel up next here on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
I thought they played really well. They all bring something different to the table. So, I think we probably turned the ball over twice. So some things we have to correct. But we got a lot of good situations. We got third down. We got 2 minute. We got red zone. And I thought for the most part they played really well. And, again, that added dynamic that they bring, some of the guys bring of being able to run. So when Richard's in there, we do some different things with Richard. When Heinrich's in there, we do some different things with him. And I was really pleased with the
Hey, welcome back to the show. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, Shane Schillerberg pushing the buttons off in his little doghouse, playhouse over there. He's got a window. The window's open. He's feeling a nice breeze on this
Oh, come on, Shane.
a decent Omaha morning. It could get a little, the sun could come out. It would feel a lot better if it did.
Little Orphan Annie?
Yeah.
It's got to get to 70 for you.
Yeah. Shane on his hands and knees over there scrubbing the floor like Annie.
Why the f*** is Shane walking in there?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I don't know why he's here either.
No idea.
But I do know why Brandon Vogel is here, because we talk to him every Tuesday here on Coffee and Cream. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Whoa. You sound like you're underwater, Vogues.
One more time.
Uh-oh.
Shane, do you want to see if we can grab him again real
maybe
quick?
A reconnect.
Wait, one more time, Brandon. I don't want to get rid of him because it cuts into his minutes.
Guys got me okay?
Shane, see if he can reconnect. Is that okay? And if
But it's muffled.
And we may keep him over the 8 o'clock hour because I have a lot to talk to him about.
Oh, do you?
If he has time. B. Vogels, can we call you right? There we go.
Don't even ask. Don't even ask.
Hey,
he's out.
So
he's out. He's coming back.
People do that to me all the time.
Really?
And it's where I learned to do, like, ask for things. Hey, I know you're probably busy, but what I need for you to do is, and they ask it in such a way where it's like,
you can't say no.
No, I guess I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
The king of peer pressure. You learned from all the bullies before you.
Yeah, right. It's like, and I should know better, but it happens to me all the time. I hope I screwed up my camera. I know Sasha wanted me to fix it, and you fixed it.
Yeah,
and
you lifted it back up.
Yes.
Why do you just like people seeing your little head?
Because I'm gonna do the opposite of what people want.
Your
me
head
to do.
looks so much smaller because of the camera angle.
That's great.
It's
great.
Little tiny bean.
Hey,
and here's this big wall.
Do you notice the boss? She's like,
we can go to him now.
Fix his camera. She knew if she asked me to do it, there's not a chance it's getting done correctly.
She texted me individually. Let's bring Vokes back in. All right, B Vokes, what's up?
Hey guys, how's this sound?
Yeah, all right.
All right.
You don't sound like you're in the ocean anymore. 10 feet under, swimming with the sharks.
Hey, how's the weather, Brandon? Is it hit and miss? Has it been fairly consistent?
We're good. Overcast and rainy, but I think so far, like some of the worst of what's out there, like might miss us. But it was really nice over the weekend. But yeah, hit or miss.
Overcast days never turn me
Back to a
on.
song, as always.
Raspberry Beret. Hey, B. So when I asked this to Sam yesterday, maybe. When you hear, no, it's Brady Owens, your colleague. When you hear Coach Rhule describe the quarterbacks, and we played the clips, right? Well, Henrik does some different things, and Jeff does some different. He's funny how he calls him Jeff. I always think of like Clarence, but that's a cartoon that not that many people watch, so I won't go there. But with Jeff or whomever else, do you have a picture like in your head of how you think these quarterbacks are functioning? Like, is he painting, or is it still a little loosey-goosey because you don't have the exact visual?
It's still pretty loosey-goosey. I mean, my feeling is they're serious when they talk about QB run game being a part of this. And, we haven't heard a lot. I know Satterfield mentioned it. I think Rhule has talked about it a little bit. And it's always kind of like, in today's football, you kind of got to have it. But really, until we get to the spring game probably and see them in more of a scrimmage-like setting, how that transpires, I'm not sure yet. That's largely a mystery for me. But I think that's a factor. And who ultimately gets this job come August. The other big thing, I think, and they mentioned it a ton, and every coach out there says this, but I think it's important here, who takes care of the football. And because it is a new staff, because it's a new staff, everybody's kind of on even footing. If you've got a guy who maybe can't do everything or does, a bunch of things kind of good to not great necessarily, maybe somebody has a better arm, maybe somebody has better accuracy, but you take care of the football, I think that guy has a chance to start. So if that ends up, and I'm not saying this is, but like somebody from out of the clouds, if that's Logan Smothers, if that's Henrik Harburg, if that's Chubba Purdy, I think those guys are live in this race for that reason.
Yeah, I've seen Coach Rhule lose his mind 3 times in practice, where I would say like lose his mind. Now he's pretty intense, and I think your colleagues have seen that, and to some degree. But the worst was in a red zone drill, and I think he clocked in at about a 4.640 to sprint to the spot, and he said, "How many times do I have to tell you, don't turn the ball over in the red zone?" And he laid into the quarterback, and I was thinking, okay, right? You watch things enough, and you kind of know what bothers people, right? Like, I don't like hair in the bathroom. Some people don't like shoes in the front door. This guy does not like turnovers in the red zone. I mean, he was about the color of my coat. He was livid.
well, I'm someone who doesn't like turnovers that don't regress to the mean, which has been the case for Nebraska over two decades since going plus 23 in 2003. Welcome back, Frank Solich. I don't mean that facetiously. Like,
hey, that's a
crazy
number, though.
They had 47 takeaways in 13 games. Since then, Nebraska has had a positive turnover margin twice. They've been even twice. Every other time has been in the negatives since 2004. And so that's where Nebraska has been. You clean that up. You just stop committing some turnovers or really go high on the takeaways. Boy, some of these seasons goes different. But there's another wrinkle here. Satterfield's South Carolina offenses 51 giveaways in 26 games. So, he's out there, he's harping on this. And like I said, every coach talks about it. It's hard to control. But those two South Carolina offenses, and, there's always a lot of context here that's necessary, but leaving some of that out, they were pretty high giveaway too.
Keep it right there, because Spencer Rattler got all the time in the world at South Carolina. And when we talk quarterbacks here, how short of a leash do you give to whoever gets the starting job in regards to the turnover conversation? If you are Coach Rhule or Coach Satterfield, do you ride out the guy depending, or is it all kind of dependent on the turnover and the play that kind of causes it?
Yeah, I think, some turnovers, there's just, not a lot you can do about, but with interceptions in particular, you can get a sense if a guy's not making the throws, is not capable of making the throws, or, maybe isn't seeing things. So I think how long a leash might depend on who it is you put behind center to start the season. If
you think one quarterback gets
experienced guy,
you think one quarterback gets a bigger leash versus another because of experience?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's different if it's, well, I guess you could see both sides of it. I would think it's a little bit different with, say, a Thompson or a Sims, a guy who has played a lot of football. You can be like, okay,
right,
they've been through stretches. Maybe they can work through this. Whereas, if you go towards the younger end of the spectrum, you may not be able to count on them just processing it themselves. You might need to let them sit down for a series or two and see what happens. But I mean, it's interesting with Nebraska because there's not a soft open. They go to Minnesota to start the year, and then they go to Colorado.
Brandon, when you're the kind of we know what we saw early from Gabe Ervin, and I don't know this, so I worry about this a little bit. Like, he's kind of a victim of potentially all the high praise versus the last time we really saw him play, right? Like, we kind of liked him. I don't know if we were enamored with the whole first freshman to start thing, right? Because we were still waiting to see it. How close is he, in your opinion, to being a guy that is going to have a hard time living up to the expectations? And most of it he hasn't been able to control yet.
Yeah, I don't view him as a guy who's going to have a hard time living up to expectations. I guess maybe it's my own reading of, like, I feel like they're high, and I feel like this staff likes him. But we had such a limited sample size, and you go back to, you mentioned his true freshman season. I do think that was like, well, it looks like a true freshman might be the best they have at running back, which is kind of cool, but also kind of maybe not the scenario you're hoping to be in. But then it stopped so early. His injury unfortunately ended that season in the first month, so we didn't get to see much after that. And then, AJ Allen and Anthony Grant were getting results in 2022, so he just kind of was the third guy. So I think a lot of it, will be determined on his work here in the spring, and already that has happened in the winter, and reports have been good on that. So I kind of view him as, at least for me, as a guy with a high ceiling. But if you ask the most casual fans out there, they're probably like, well, Anthony Grant, leading rusher, almost hit 1,000 yards last year. Whatever you get from Urban's gravy. I don't know. I think they're going to rely on him more heavily than that.
Can we get you for 10 on the other side?
Yes.
Appreciate you.
That's why we have family right
Yeah.
here, because he's sticking around with us. More CNC next and more Brandon Vogel for you. Stick around.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
The offense really, the offense really moved the ball well today. The offense looked ahead of the defense. I think a lot of it was the quarterbacks running. You get to practice and the quarterback drops back and we blow it dead. Well, today, they had to try to hit Heinrich and to try to hit Chuba, had to try to hit Jeff, try to hit Richard, and then they bounced off it and ran for big long plays. So that added in a dynamic that we haven't really exposed to the defense. But I thought it was not a ton of penalties, and we look like a pretty good. We had Big Ten officials, so it was good to get all that kind of in the stadium. It's my first time coaching in that stadium, so.
Top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, 590 ESPN Omaha, live on Twitter, live on YouTube. We appreciate you joining us wherever you catch your favorite morning show in town. Alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers, we are continuing our conversation now with the managing editor for Hail Varsity at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter. He is Brandon Vogel, and he is back. Welcome back, B.
Thank you. Good to see you guys again.
Hey, I got a question because we started the conversation with you about quarterbacks and the running focus that was put on them in practice last week or over the weekend. And you're a big stat guy. In 2017 and 2022, Nebraska had their lowest scoring outputs of its Big Ten era. And a lot people were contributing to the fact that quarterbacks weren't running and that it wasn't a focus. So that being said, how important is it to you that Rhule is making note of that and focusing on reestablishing the quarterback run element this early?
I think it's pretty important. You look at, so last season, Casey Thompson, we spent a lot of time talking during the season of he's not like the design QB run guy. When they did do some of those things, they got some results. And then in 2017, you're looking at Tanner Lee. But all of the years around that, you're talking Taylor Martinez would kill you with his legs. Adrian Martinez would as well. Tommy Armstrong, to that side of the equation than the Tanner Lee side of the equation, certainly. So I think it's big. There's a reason that college football has kind of evolved to a point where, boy, you've got to be really, really excellent in some key areas if you're not going to have it. It's just, you can mess with how a defense matches. You can mess with the numbers if you've got somebody back there who can be a legitimate threat. Now, if anything, Nebraska may have been too QB run reliant, if that's possible. I don't know if I'm ready to say that, but that thought's at least in my head when you look back at it. They were so much driven by what Taylor Martinez and Adrian Martinez in particular were able to give them on the ground.
B. Vogues, let me ask you, has the coach changed that you were the most intrigued by before everybody kind of got going to now? And if so, why? And who is that coach?
It might be Barthel for me at the moment. The ability, one, he has one of the best rooms, I think, on the team when you look at talent and depth. So that's good. I think part of that was, a guy coming from UConn, not a football hotbed, basketball hotbed, but not, not a traditional football power. So that added some intrigue for me as well. And when you look at, we've spent a lot of time talking about QB run. Don't want to forget about one of the first things Satterfield said is we're going to run the football. And Rhule's been consistent with that as well. And I think they had the players to do that. And, from the limited amount I've been able to see and in talking to people, I think they have the coaching for that room to be pretty good and for it to be deep. We spend a lot of time talking about, do you need that? Do you need that workhorse? Do you need the guy? And it can be good. But UConn last year, kind of had a handful of options there. And I think Nebraska has the potential to do that this year as well.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's such a technician. Like if you talk, he had one of the clinique. We're doing makeup now. He had one of the clinic sessions on like duo and like two-back run game. And duo, for our listeners out there, it's just kind of a blocking concept like zone. And his attention to detail and doing things a certain way, I felt like was pretty interesting. It reminded me of, because coaching running backs is hard, B. Like, you don't want to take the creativity out of their game. But, you do have to understand if somebody's in a 2-eye or a 3 technique or, they're trying to reach a 4. Like, the more you know things like that, the easier it is as a runner because you know where you shouldn't wind up as a back. Like, that stuff you can tell is critical to how he wants to teach and coach that room. Do you like the personalities in that room to pull it off?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's to be honest, like I look at the running backs and with just kind of how it's worked out and the way that last year went, where you had two newcomers kind of being your lead backs. They weren't guys we heard from a ton during the season. So I don't know that I have a great grasp on kind of what the personality makeup is in that room. So it's probably better off if I don't say yes or no. I mean, and that's an important part. I mean, if you are capable of getting to, hey, we've got 3 guys we feel great about that can go in the game at any point, or we can get specialized. Like you got to have 3 guys willing to do that. And then that's a key thing too. And part of what intrigues me about EJ as the position coach there, but that one's still kind of TBD for me, I guess.
Yeah, Brady Oltmans wrote a good piece on Billy Kemp last week in regards to his explosiveness.
He's interesting.
And what he can bring to the offense. Now, he may not have the size of Trey Palmer, but he brings some similar skill sets that we saw out of Trey last season. By no means am I comparing the two. Not to say that they couldn't be compared by season's end. That's to be seen. But one word tossed around was durability in that article and how his addition to the room makes the room itself more durable. So when it comes to this wide receiving room and its durability, and I'm going to put it in Cold Stone terms because I'm a big ice cream guy. Do you like it, love it, or got to have it?
I would say like it at this point. I mean, I think there's still so much to be determined with that room. And that's a race that I think changes when some people arrive in the summer. They recruit, they've got a Malachi Coleman coming. They've got some kind of under the radar finds, I think, that they've got that, you may not point to them right now and say, well, he's got a great chance to play immediately. But maybe. I mean, that's the thing with the new staff, and you kind of get a little bit of a free roll in year one of like, hey, we just got to find the guys that play the way we want to play, because everybody's going to be learning a little bit as we go. So when I look at the wide receiver room, I think Kemp's really important because you can look at his production over his career. He's played a lot of football. To the durability piece of it, yeah, any additional players there help. That said, he was somebody who got injured and missed the majority of this past 2022 season. So I don't think it's something 81 guy like can boost alone. But you gotta go out and find them and give yourself the best shot to have enough pass catchers and the type of pass catchers that you need.
Folks, let me get you out of here on this, at least for me. If you could pick a position that gets a guy to come from off the radar to have impact, what position are you picking?
Oh, maybe. I think D-line, maybe. You need
2 for 2. I've asked that question twice in a little different way. Both answers have come up, D-line.
Yeah, I think that's one. And you're hearing AJ Rollins, and I don't want to like fast forward and spring superstar this thing. Like they're looking at it, right? But something like that, because you look at this defensive line and like some of what Robinson does. I've seen some flashes from Hutmacher, but you're like, who's your guy up there? And it's probably Robinson. So if you get somebody that comes from out of nowhere, so to speak. And that doesn't have to be like a 4-sack guy or anything like that, but just like can just play. Like you can put him in the game whenever you need him. I think D-line could probably use that the most right now in my mind.
Brandon Vogel, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much, and thanks for sticking around during the break, and we will talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks for letting me hang around. See you guys.
Thanks, B.
That is at Brandon L. Vogel on Twitter, managing editor for Hail Varsity.
Where would you pick?
Well, so who did you ask? Was it Sam or Brady yesterday?
One of the two.
Whoever
I asked
said
it a little different.
Whoever said it, I thought D-line 2 in my head.
So 3 for 3.
Before it was said. But, I don't like to go with the trend. I don't like that. So I would, if I had to give like a second option to that, it would be the O-line. It would be it would be on either side of the line.
And I'm listening, right? Like I'm willing to be swayed. But off at first blush, do you know what I would say? What position would you guess I would say? And it's not one of the aforementioned.
I would say linebacker.
No, I think I would go wide receiver.
And why? Because we talk all the time how deep they are, and is it because you just really don't have a good gauge on them just yet?
It's a good question. I should be prepared for my own thoughts, right? But I'm literally thinking on the fly. I just don't. It hasn't looked like super dynamic, right? Like they need.
I see where you're going.
They need like a guy.
Yep.
So in my head, I'm thinking if I could get a guy to come out of nowhere. And it literally would be out of nowhere because, I mean, he's taken 21 credit hours. 21 credit hours.
It's a lot.
For Z. It would be Betts.
And I asked you, did I ask you? I think I did.
Because he's going to have to come from off the radar.
I think there was a take it or leave it question.
Everybody talks about what's coming and who's in. And I'm telling you, this is a big boy offense. So if you think that you're just going to come in here and get command of this terminology and roll with the variations of what they can do, you're kidding yourself. So you need to get your ass in and around and be trying to pick up what's going on because it's a pro style offense. If you're in a 3-by, you may be doing this. If you're to the 1-by side, it could look like this. If you're in the 2-by-2 and you're in the slot and you get 1 versus 2, it's going to look like this. Like it's big boy. And it's not like, and it has all these hints of like West Coast offense. So when I hear the play calls, it reminds me of being back in training camp, right? Where if you get a jump 83Y stick, right? Some of that stuff is self-explanatory if you know the terminology. Jump is quick game. The stick is the inside receiver. The 83 are for the 2 outsides. Obviously, I said Y stick for the Y guy, but like then they'll say things like brown change right. So that color has a designation. The change right means the opposite of what you would normally do, and that one's kind of short. Right. So you have to be one of those guys that can process quickly, know which parts are specific to you, and then see it happen. Like having a feel for the game, right? Having a feel for being a good wideout is much harder, in my opinion, than having natural talent. When to sit down. When is he going to throw me open? When will he maybe back shoulder this for me so I don't run into contact? I think early on I would take wide out. Easy answer would be O-line. I'm surprised everybody's going with D-line, but I get it because of the numbers. Like the numbers aren't.
And I'm a guy that likes to address a problem.
It's not fantastic.
And I think
right?
a lot of other people out there are too. They see the problem. They want that to be addressed, and they know Rhule has been addressing problems. You said that it's starting to look like a pro style offense, but more like a West Coast offense. And
there just seems to, and I'm just listening. Like I'm not watching like plays so much. Like that's but when I listen to play calls, I'm like, oh yeah, that's got sprinkles of West Coast written all over it. So there's run action. 2-back looks. Like I can kind of get a sense.
He's always 10 steps ahead.
Man.
When you talk West Coast offense, why do you think he's trying to mirror a West Coast offense look?
And you know what's funny? You don't have to read into what he's saying. He
tells you.
He's telling you.
He tells you what
he's
exactly
like,
how it is.
He's not like one of those, nah. you don't have to. And he's a really good orator, right? So it's like he knows what he wants to convey.
When talking quarterback running too with Vogues there and talking a little bit with Sam yesterday, it had me thinking last night. Yes, there is a need when you want it to look pro style, but first and foremost, you need to be strong up front, which is why when you asked me, hey, if it wasn't, because I didn't want to say D-line again, what would it be? I said O-line, because that's where it all starts in your offense. You got to give your quarterback protection in order to take away turnover risks. And implementing speed into the game is Coach Rhule's way, but I also want it not to be overlooked too, like I said yesterday with the Stetson Bennett example or the J.J. McCarthy example. Like, those guys didn't have to run much, but those offenses and those teams are completely different than Nebraska. They are built so much differently, so much stronger than Nebraska right now. Doesn't mean Nebraska can't get there, but right now, if you looked at those offenses, you're thinking the offenses aren't built for the quarterback to run, but you can make up for a lot of mistakes if you have a mobile quarterback.
There are lots of compliments. It doesn't. We got a couple guys that listen to the show all the time and have heard me say this for about the last 4 or 5 years. There's lots of pieces of Georgia's offense that I've always wanted Nebraska to be able to run. Downhill run game, just enough zone read to keep teams honest, double at the point of attack. They're good with duo. They take their shot plays vertically when they throw it. They utilize their tight ends. There's some components of Georgia's, and this was before they were winning national championships, but they're just, and I think some people thought that it was weird that I liked Georgia because their offense was what was holding them back, according to most national experts, right?
Right. The metrics were saying
it's not
defense.
dynamic enough, right? It's not this, but they take pretty good care of the football and they run it. So when you have to commit to the run, you get a lot of one-on-one matchups on the outside.
Michigan does it similarly.
I like Michigan's offense.
Blake Corum can run
I wish, and Michigan, as long as their QB run game stays cool, Michigan should be okay. Michigan may have to introduce another run threat in the backfield, though.
Over Corum,
in addition to
pair them
like,
together.
yeah. And just for a little versatility, because they got a little stale running the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of the best offenses in the Big Ten look like that.
Yeah, for sure. Which is, I can't wait to see like a guy like Allen in.
I want him to thrive.
A spread offense, right? Because
he was a favorite of mine to win the Heisman last year. Didn't have the playing time to do it. Yeah. But he's got all the talent in the world to be able to do it. I wonder how Luke Fickell coming in changes his way, like you said, working in a spread.
Yeah, and we'll see who's left on Minnesota's roster, but that'll be interesting.
Yeah, what's up with them? Like, this is a roster that if you pull up Twitter, you're like, oh, there's another guy. There's another guy that's saying, hey, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I mean, you lose, kind of one of your best receiving targets now as of late, and backfield, we'll see what happens. And I do think Iowa wants to be, I'm going to say this and know that I could get laughed at, but I know that they want to be more dynamic. They have, I don't know who they're going to throw to, but in the backfield and at the quarterback spot, they should be better. Their offensive line should be better.
It should.
That was one of the poorer Iowa offensive lines in the last 15, 18 years. So they should be better as well, even though they just lost an O-lineman. So it's, I don't know. It's right for the picking. I mean, do we have any idea what Purdue's supposed to look like?
Nope.
I don't know.
Not one bit. New coaching staff, new quarterback.
Northwestern fired their QB coach, their O-line coach. Like, they're starting over on offense.
Although I do like Hudson Card a lot.
Yeah.
You didn't. That didn't seem too confident out of you.
If there's probably a pickup, it's probably McNamara or Mordecai, I guess, in conference.
I would say Mordecai over McNamara, just because
I like McNamara more than most, and I don't think he's not going to turn the ball over for them. If he takes care of the ball, I don't know. We may be sleeping on him a little bit.
How many turnovers did Peters have last year?
Well, I get it, right? You have to throw the ball more than 3 yards down the field, but
Right.
I'll
And,
be
and
curious.
then even Stanley, like how many turnovers did he have? Like, I don't think that offense is really. Like,
I think
the
they'll be able.
turns it over.
I think. Well, they haven't really been able to run the ball like they wanted
Well,
to either.
that's 100% true.
So I think that's where they got to
We're
start.
going to see a lot of 7-3 wins again out of that group.
I just don't know if they'll. Did you see where Coach Parker was voted the top defensive coordinator in college football?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And actually, in the Big Ten, I think half of that list.
Four.
Yeah,
of the 10
nearly half of the list
was were Big Ten.
It was Iowa, Penn State. Was it Michigan?
I can't even remember, but I do know they had 4 of the 10. I will say this: Parker's a genius, quirky and kind of strange and a little off.
I got it right here.
The beaten path, but he's a flat out genius.
Parker, Minter, so Michigan at 2, Diaz at 5, Penn State, and Rossi, Minnesota at 7.
Rossi's a stud.
Are they the ones that are going dual coordinator?
Yeah, on offense.
On offense,
yeah.
How do you have 2 voices in one room?
So, like, if they do it like they say on paper, run game, pass game, maybe. But sometimes you have to give a guy a title too for pay.
So are you going to do 50-50? Like, oh, you can
and
pass
it doesn't really
happen.
It really isn't like that
Right.
internally. Sometimes you just say that because you need a guy in the fold.
It's weird. It's kind of weird. It's unique. I'm not going to knock it until like if it doesn't work, then I'll be like, yeah, this is why you shouldn't have 2 people in the room trying to lead class.
Yeah,
but
Rossi's a stud.
Yeah, defensively, they're all set up. We still got a jam-packed show ahead to get to. We'll do the sports 6-pack right around the 9 o'clock hour. That's presented by Zipline. We wanted to talk NFL a little bit today because we keep glancing over to the television out of the corner of our eye. And Todd McShay was on this morning giving his mock draft, and people are high on Anthony Richardson once again.
I mean, are people going to really let 2 inches be the reason for the treason? Because the best quarterback in the draft resides in Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm.
And no disrespect to Stroud, but are you really Gerpin over 2 inches? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I've been Bryce Young, number 1 pick from the very beginning. I don't care about size. I don't care about anything. I care about IQ.
And you realize, like, Caleb Williams isn't a big guy.
No.
And he's the consensus number 1 pick at 6'1" next year. And I bet he doesn't measure in at 6'1".
But you think they're going to give him the high school card of 6'3"? Or
no, I bet
6?
You watch. At this time next year, Caleb Williams will be like 6 foot and 3/4 inches.
We'll see.
They don't call him. They won't call him a little guy though.
Yeah.
But he is sturdy.
He is. He very much is. Hey, before we move on to anything else, I want to go back to what we previously talked about with UConn. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Obviously, dream come true for all of us. As a part of the program, we sold the vision. I sold the vision to David Benedict and President Herbst and President Rudenka and the university that I could, put together a special group of people, a coaching staff, and unbelievable players like this. So it feels great to come through.
Welcome back, Danny Hurley, known for selling a vision. Who else likes to sell a vision?
I don't know. It was kind of weird because the whole theme for the CBS broadcast was the whole dream thing. Like, did you see the Open?
Yep.
They played Shane's song last night from the Golden Girls. Thank you for being a friend. Because we know how Shane has an affinity for B. Arthur.
B. Arthur.
No, it's Betty White.
Oh, my bad. One of those people.
B. Arthur was like 7 foot tall, so that'd be way taller than.
That's okay.
No, I got you. Shane. You got to keep him.
Get on your tippy toes.
Use a chair.
Or that. That works too.
All right, let's get out of this conversation.
Dude said use a chair. Mm-hmm. Did you catch that?
Yep, I sure did.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why he exited himself quickly.
Yeah.
Not Exodus like in the book.
Oh, come on.
The great
Shane.
book.
By the way, that was on. Was that on a weekend too early? 10 Commandments was on last weekend.
Yep.
It's weird. When
Passions
I watched
this weekend.
I can't sit through that again. When I saw that fire and stuff with the chariot and just the overacting, like Yul Brynner came and he slouched down in his seat. He was like, oh. I was like, wow, once upon a time, this was considered good acting. Yep. This would never fly.
I think about that a lot, though, when I watch old movies. Like, This is what we liked.
Yeah.
This is
Just the fire alone when I was like,
But it was like 1956.
I get it. I'm just saying it's fun.
That was movie making history right there.
Was it pretty cool back then?
They used Jello to part the sea.
Just look at this dude is a Rolodex.
Fun facts. Fun facts.
It sounds like Micah. Fun fact.
Shane, we're not knocking the fact that they made history in the 50s. We're just saying that when you watch movies today, they are a heck of a lot different. But here was the question I prompted in the first hour. It was, out of the 5 national championship teams in school history, where does this UConn team rank? They won titles in 1999, 2004, 2011, 2014, and of course this year, 2023. Where would you put this team on the list of great teams?
I don't know. I like 99 and 2004.
Was 2004 when they had back-to-back first-round picks at the NBA draft?
So
2 and 3.
I think they had a Mecca-4.
Yep.
And Ben Gordon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That I would say is probably their best team.
I don't know. I like the 99 team with El Amin and Suleiman Wan, and
that was a team though
Richard
that
Hamilton
wasn't expected.
No,
they shocked.
No, but Rip. I think that was Rip and Khalid. I used to call my buddy Jeff
DJ?
Freeman. Yeah, I used to call my buddy Jeff Freeman Khalid El Amin.
All
I think
me,
he's in my
me.
phone as Khalid. It looks like Khalid Freeman. Because we would play pickup at prep all the time. Luke, he would let us in, and he was kind of a squatty body.
Are you a pickup guy still to this day?
No, not anymore, because I don't know very many guys that play it, but I would. I mean,
there are some guys that always try to get me to go to Weeping Water High School with them and play, and I played one time.
I dunked off of Matt Verzal's lift at Weeping Water.
No way.
Swear to goodness.
That gym is kind of nice.
It is. I had no idea where
Sneaky.
it was. It's not that far. It's like
you drive through that town and you're like, is there a high school here? And then all of a sudden it just hits you like a truck.
Yeah, we used to do this deal where we hooped the alumni. We'd go around to these high schools, and he lifted me up. Yeah,
like a cheerleader. He was at the bottom of the pyramid.
Yeah, he's fearless too. So anyway, I would go 04, 99. But this team. And it's hard because they were so dominant, but it reminds me a lot of this year's Bellevue West basketball team.
Good comp.
It reminds me a whole lot. Like, they dominated the competition. So relative to who they were playing against, it's fantastic because you just don't run the table very often. But what they did was a good job of taking advantage of teams that they were significantly better than that. They just didn't have any lulls.
17-0 against non-con teams.
Right? They didn't have any lulls. And so, like, if I'm just looking at, like, their prowess, I'm not like, whoo, but they were so dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So they belong in the discussion of tops. I mean, they rolled.
Would you put them at 2 or 3? Because that's where I'm struggling to place them right now.
I think right now you have to put them at 2. I don't love it because it's recency bias, maybe. And I didn't like college basketball this year in terms of good teams. There were no real great teams.
Mm-hmm.
There were some better accomplishments, I think, in 04 and 99, where the run was a little more unexpected, and you kind of rose. Although that Okafor team was way good.
That's one for sure on my list. I think I
04?
would. Yeah, I think I would put this 2023 team at 2 as well, and
certainly ahead of 11 with Napier and.
Well, Napier was 14.
14.
That would probably be my 5.
Let's go back with Kemba Walker.
Kemba. You know,
where he went on that crazy run.
I wouldn't be shocked if I have Kemba at 3 and the 99 team at 4 for me.
Oh, 99. I like the 99 roster in retrospect.
Right.
But so maybe I'm afforded that luxury.
Right. But, this team, let's just break this down because they were, as you said, one of the most dominant runs in all of college basketball history, and sure as heck for a UConn program. But if you look at them, they were the number 1 team in the nation at one point, and then they fell into the gauntlet of the Big East. And
I called them the best team in the country earlier, remember?
Yeah, I do. And that just goes to show, though, that the Big East is nothing to sleep on. And I don't think anybody was, but it just kind of feeds into this, hey, you can lose some games and come back and still be the most dominant team when you enter the tournament. And that's what this team was. They figured it out. We were talking, are they going to have the backcourt to keep up with any of these teams? And here they go. All 3 guys in the backcourt are doing work, doing their job. Hawkins takes over from a point guard perspective. Nobody really expected that. Everybody expected Sanogo to go off. But then you're getting assists out of role players that are just making headway on the court. This team is 2 for sure.
So let me ask you something.
I solidified that in my head.
I love Jalen Rose Barber is unbelievably good. Let me ask you something.
Squirrel.
Is it different for you, first of all, which is harder, winning 6 games in March or winning the regular season?
Which is harder?
Yeah.
Is it any team?
It's just basketball. Like, is it harder to win 6 games in March, like in March Madness, or win the regular season during the course of a year?
I think it's harder to win the regular season.
Right. So do you discount or credit if a team is very good in the regular season, knowing that opponents can scout them and they see them multiple times?
Yeah, I would say I credit.
So why weren't they better? If they were so good, why weren't they better in conference? And I'm not discounting them. What I'm saying is, if we both believe those things to be true, which we do, right?
I think there's just so much uncertainty when you get to March, because you can have a team that comes in and just takes over, like when Marquette loses.
Should we be looking at these more teams that were more dominant in the Big East in conference play and made runs in March? Because this team was certainly not dominant in conference play.
No, I mean they scored,
but they were
54
very
They
were very dominant in March.
Yep.
Should I take that away?
No, because I think they just figured it out at the right time. And so when you're that good and you're that good early
I need a separator though with like things, right? If I'm comparing all of the UConn teams, should I be looking at how good some of these other comps were in the regular season?
Yeah,
because I think that's part of it.
In the regular season.
Yeah, they were good.
I don't want to say that they were bad, but they had that stretch of games where they were bad.
Yeah,
and so you can't take that away. But I think that just goes to show that even when you hit your low point, if you can come back to your high point, which is what they did, because they went to the Big East final, right?
Shout out Coach Huss.
Am I wrong when I say that?
Say high point?
I did. They played Marquette in the final, right? Am I wrong, or was that the semifinal in the Big
Semis?
East? In the semi,
right?
Okay. So despite it, they made to the semifinals of the Big East, and so you just have to remember that the Big East is one of the top, if not. I'd say one of the top. Big 12, I think, is the top, but one of the top conferences in all of college basketball. And so when you look at this team and you see the run that they made and how dominant they were, that's because they were just there were no flaws in their game. Once they got to March, there was literally no flaws every time they took the floor.
You may make me a believer.
When we come back,
maybe.
Let's transition and talk NFL. That's next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. He's Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers. DB's camera is still looking up toward the sky.
That's the way I like it.
You just like, to have things to look forward to, right?
Yes, the way that I like.
Yeah, you like it to be out of reach sometimes, and you're like, I can see it.
Plus,
I can see it.
So for the folks on YouTube that like either want to watch or don't want to make sure that the hard outs get them, like they're not watching to like look at me. So what difference?
How do you know?
What difference is it?
Well,
don't undersell yourself.
You know the reason why they do that in the movies, right? Where they have the camera at a low angle shot like that, so it gives.
Tell me, Spielberg.
I'll tell you exactly why.
Makes people seem taller.
Yeah, makes people seem taller. So maybe Damon just wants to be
taller.
taller.
I thought that's if you were closer to the camera, it makes you seem taller.
I almost watched a movie on a humbug Saturday night. I couldn't sleep. It was like 2-something. And I was going to watch this movie. I like Jason Statham, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's your guy.
So there's this movie called Homefront, but I didn't make it past the first 15 minutes.
2013 film, action thriller. Oh, I've seen it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I ended up going over to, you know what I might start? I might start, and it's old, but I may start Snowfall.
Haven't seen that.
Yeah, I may start Snowfall. I'm kind of tired of those storylines, though. I don't want to see, people selling drugs, to make it. I'm kind of over. I'm kind of over that, but it looks legit. It looks legit.
It's a good movie. You should try it though.
Home front.
Homefront.
Yeah,
give it a little. Give it a little more time. It gets action packed.
I like him though.
Yeah, he's
just cool.
He's so good because he doesn't need to talk very loud, and he's just like
that's a Meg, and I'm not crazy. yes.
It is. It is a Meg. Yes.
I saw there's another Meg movie coming.
It's like Sharknado, man.
Black Diamond or something like that.
Why are you gonna watch it? Meg was kind of fire because he was in it. It was kind of fire.
I think it's Black Diamond. They go out to this oil rig and get stuck.
Yes.
Is it Black Diamond?
Who stars in that movie?
It's a good actor.
Is it in Mexico?
Yeah, or somewhere off. Well,
I think they're in Mexico when he drives out there
and he takes the family.
And then they're stranded out there.
So I've seen all the shark movies, right? 47 meters down, 47 meters. Did
you see the one where the girls go into the cave?
That's 47 meters down. Yeah.
Then what's the one I'm thinking of?
There's one and two. Yeah, there's one and two. Her dad was like he wasn't a spelunker, but he anyway, yeah, I've seen.
Somebody asked me if I was
Uncaged is two.
Somebody asked me if I was going to do that in Punta Cana, and I'm like, I'll just sit at the top of the water.
Yeah, I'm not that dude.
I'll put a snorkel
again.
mask on
there's something about I don't even know what it is. There's something about being up high and enclosed that scares me more than like being in front of a shark. Like I prefer to be in the open water in a cage or not or whatever.
In a cage.
Well, I want to go with this guy Juan who is
punches sharks and noses.
No, he's got a great Instagram. I think it's Juan Sharks or something like that. Who's always just free diving with sharks.
Not me.
But that's different. I still, for whatever the reason, I know I'm crazy, feel like I have more control than like if I'm enclosed or I'm up high.
I just feel like I'd prefer to have the safety net because the only reason a shark should be attacking you is because you have
they're not gonna just randomly attack you. That's not what they do.
And I'm not saying they will, but I'm going to take the protection in the cage.
Our buddy Lance, not Michigan Lance, but Balk Dog is trying to. He said, Shane, who are the people that fly the planes fast? Is it Blue Angels or Blue Devils?
Blue Angels.
Blue Angels. Mm-hmm. They're like coming to the Lincoln Air Show, and they have a media flight thing. Like we'll fly the media. He's like, oh, you should do that. And I was like, no.
Yeah, you'll puke.
Are you guys going?
He goes, why not? And I said, I'm too old to poop my pants.
I don't need to play hero today.
Dude, I know my weaknesses. Like, that's not even something I would enjoy. I'm going to throw up. I'm going to be afraid. And I just don't think I can control my bodily functions. There's nothing. And he sent me the clip of them doing these stunts. And I'm like, because they're doing these trial runs down in, can't remember where they were at when he sent me this the other day. But I'm like, that doesn't even remotely look fun. I'm not a thrill seeker.
The air show, though, is sick. Like, if you get the chance to see it, it's really cool.
That makes me queasy.
Yeah. I would say I'm a thrill seeker.
So you don't want to like bungee jump?
No.
Or...
See,
I'm black.
I wouldn't do that because, well, I take that back. I'd probably do that in the States. I wouldn't do that anywhere else. I feel like it's much safer to do it here than somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't.
But I'm also skydiving or anything like that.
See, I'd skydive because I'm attached to somebody that knows what they're doing.
See, I'd put all that stuff in the same boat. Shark,
like what's?
But I don't want to swim with a shark.
I just think sharks are cool, right? Like I'm intrigued,
and I think they're cool too. I'll watch them on TV.
I'm intrigued by their behaviors and stuff like that. I don't need like the rush of. I don't need to drive fast. I don't need to jump out anything. I don't need to be up high.
I don't know if you're going with the Blue Angels. I mean, you're not going to come across anybody that's going to have a story like that. You're going to have a story.
You know what that story will be? Oh man, he's supposed to be a tough guy. Blah blah blah. He was crying like a baby. I think he pooped his pants. Yeah, that's would be the narrative when I got out of the cockpit. I'm not that guy.
You can spin it however you want, though.
Neck.
I'm not. Yeah, I've seen Top. I'm not that dude.
But I'm thinking more of the other version, the longest yard, the dirty version. Yeah. No, I feel the need for speed.
I just don't get it, man. I saw Shane, by the way, before we get to football.
Before we actually get somewhere.
No, so along those lines, the night of the home front, when I was trying to find something to watch, there was an old Knight Rider series, not with like David Hasselhoff, but like some knockoff younger dude, and the car could like change shapes and turn into like different cars.
Yep, like a transformer.
How'd that thing make it past a season? Because it was god awful.
Was it Knight Rider 2000? No, but that had David Hasselhoff in it too.
This did not have David Hasselhoff.
Okay.
It had some young dude that has been in a lot of stuff before. But the car like turned into like a truck one time.
Okay.
It turned into, I think it was normally a Charger. I'm not a car head. It was something like that. And I'm like, they made like multiple seasons of this, or did it only make one season? Because I looked at it and it looked terrible.
That sounds awful. I mean, in like Knight Rider 2000,
Was it him?
which was awful.
That's the dude.
You gotta take into account the car is almost
It was bad. And they like would go back to the lab and they could tell the car to do things and to withstand heat. And I'm like,
you gotta make
doing too much.
You gotta
Justin Bruning, I bet. Go ahead. Sorry, Shane.
You gotta make the car be the star. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Because in Knight Rider, the car was the star, and then
it was just cheesy.
You know,
when you
about
get
12 minutes in,
when you get to remakes, it's hard to be good. And I think Hawaii Five-0 did it well. But
so
it's a crime
isn't there
show, and I
another
think
one now
crime
coming
shows
on?
are easy.
Or is that Fantasy Island? There's another one of those that's like they've been doing Hawaii Five. Oh, Magnum PI.
Oh yeah.
Is got a reboot.
It's a good show.
My sister liked it. I wasn't mad.
I'm just into crime shows.
But that's not really crime. That's like
that was more about the car.
What, Knight Rider?
Magnum PI, the Ferrari, or the
helicopter.
Yeah, I was
the
more
helicopter.
referring to Hawaii Five-0. Criminal Minds, great show. We talked about that a lot.
Different though.
Yeah. White Collar's a crime show. We taled about that last week or earlier this week. One of the two.
That.
You need to try it.
I looked at it on IMDb. I don't know if it can hold me.
You just got to try the episode.
He's got to try.
He's got to try it.
like your boy talking about getting a plane. How about not?
Let's talk NFL because there were some storylines that popped up outside of just the mock draft itself. But the whole Aaron Rodgers fiasco is still taking place. I doubt there's anything done before the draft.
My buddy, he's like, nope.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. A gif of a shark eating a man. Not for me. Yep.
And he's a tough guy too. He's probably done that
I
stuff.
watched Blake Lively surf in the water.
That was a great show, The Shallows.
A movie? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great.
Nah,
I have to discern between movie and show.
Two different things.
You're that guy.
Yeah, well, they are two different things.
Oh, here we go.
More times than not, a TV show is in 2 hours.
I like how
minutes.
you low-key condescendingly said, yeah, movie, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes they go.
Shut up,
are you
Shane.
going
Stop it, Shane.
Are you going to the show? What time is the show time at?
Yeah, show premiere. Show starts at.
Yeah. What movie are you seeing? That's the question.
Wow. I like how you tried to like low-key just bully me into saying the right thing.
No, it's just like movie. It's
yeah, man, I saw that show. Yeah, movie. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, nice. Well played.
Yeah, what'd you have tonight?
Yeah, that's why you'd probably take Richardson and I'd take Bryce Young.
Oh,
I'd beat
stop.
you. You would take Richardson.
I would not.
You strike me as a Richardson guy.
Nice. That was good.
What?
I like that.
You don't like Richardson?
Quit being a Richard, son. Quit being a Richard. Well, I guess we'll talk about football coming back. There's the music. Shut it down, boys.
Oh,
down.
God. I can't believe you tried to low-key slide that in.
Oh, I did.
Movie?
You got
yeah,
it.
Good.
You got it, but I slid it in.
Snob.
Oh, it's we're all about smiles on this show.
That's all gravy.
All right, we'll talk NFL when we come back. We still have the sports six-pack as well, and then I have a funny April Fool's something or other that I wanted to tell you about.
I missed
there were
the
a lot
whole
of jokes
holiday.
over the weekend. A lot of jokes, sports jokes, and we will get to all of that and more. Coffee and Cream, 9 o'clock hour, coming your way next.
Rogers and Benning will be back back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Welcome back. DB smiling as always when he pulls up his Twitter page.
Well, Kim says, Criminal Mind, how to make a pizza in Jason Statham. DB, another thing we agree on. Oh, and I still love Mason Miller. And you get a healthy Mason Miller back. So they can
throw in the how to make a pizza because of me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim.
Well, I mean, subtle shots. It's what we do.
Mm-hmm. What movie?
Yeah, right. So stretchy. So Trout, Green, and Mason Miller. Stretchy at the 4 spot.
Oh, real stretchy. but all good things. I agree with that. I wish I just knew how to make a pizza at the end of the day. I know how to put a frozen pizza into the oven.
Man.
Set the oven to 425, slide her in, easy business. We were teasing the NFL, and outside of Aaron Rodgers, the other thing that I wanted to get to was Jalen Carter coming out and saying, yeah, I'm a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I'm not visiting with anybody else. I am only visiting with teams in the top 10. What do you make out of that for a guy like him in his situation?
Well, I just think even if he thinks he's a top 10 pick, and he is, right?
He was projected to be the number 1 before quarterbacks became this huge deal.
So I guess he's thinking, I'm just pretending to be JC for a minute. Like, he's thinking, why waste my time? And I think he looks at it like that because I don't think he's saying, I think he's saying this. I think he's saying, if it's outside of the top 10, why do I need to meet with him? Not, I'm only meeting with the top 10 picks because I think I'm going in the top 10.
That to me screams, hey, it's all about money for me because the teams in the top 10 are not going to be successful teams. At least they shouldn't right away. Not to say that they can't.
I think he's upset, and he may be getting bad advice.
And then
because I think he thinks you guys are defining me by this. Gosh, I hate to say this, Andrew, but I'm just going to be honest. I know what it's like to be defiant for the right reasons the wrong way. I made a living doing that for 30 some years, right? So you're going to do it this way and it's going to be heck or high water. And you hold your ground. And he's not old enough yet to know better because even when you get advisors and people smarter than you that say, hey, listen, Jalen, I'm telling you, man, like this is not a good look. Like if you have certain convictions about things at that age, you just don't budge.
Right.
Like I can't even hate, man. Like I was the exact same way. Right. Oh, why don't you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance or why when like all these things that I would go through, stadium issued gear versus non-stadium issued gear. If it was supposed to be good for me or what orthotics to wear or, if I could do X amount of things in a class, why would I have to? Like if they're just things, it's not even morally, but they're just things that if you're passionate about, and he thinks he's a good person, right? And he very well may be. I don't know Jalen Carter. But I think he thinks he's establishing his self-worth. He's reaffirming his self-worth, and he doesn't want to waver. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I just think that's where he's at that age because he's exceptionally bright. And I'm not, hear my heart, I didn't say he's a great decision maker because critical thinking is hard. But he is exceptionally bright as an individual. So sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Well, and let's not forget that he stuck around in that instance. And what you're talking about with decision making, he stuck around in that moment of tragedy. So he didn't just run and hide. He was there and he owned it. And
a couple weeks earlier, though, he's driving 90 again.
Yep. It like we talked about, may not be a good decision maker, but he seems committed to the right thing in the end.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, Todd McShay released his mock draft. Jalen Carter going 5th. This was 3 hours ago. I should premise that. Jalen Carter going 5th to the Seahawks. Other drafts have Jalen Carter going potentially to the Bears, although a lot of people are saying, hey, they're going to take O-line and they're not going to go with Jalen Carter. With Jalen Carter falling or even sitting around this pick, if everybody has Jalen Carter projected in the top 10, why wouldn't you just meet with the top 10 picks? And so maybe that's something else to think about with him. I'm not saying he uses Todd McShay and whoever else is
Andrew Rogers.
No, I don't make mock drafts. But whoever else making
Michael
mock
Severe.
drafts. Does he make mock drafts?
Man. Weird. Yes. He'll go deep.
I like that.
He'll go deep.
I like that, though. Everybody has their thing. I go deep in March Madness. That sounded weird. Moving on. Moving forward.
Foolish.
Full foot forward. No, but that right there just tells me that maybe because everybody else places him there, he knows that. So he's going to meet with those teams. And for the teams that are out of the top 10, they know his talent. They can take him if he falls out, but at the same time.
Well, I think he knows so kind of what we were saying, right? I think he knows he's a top 10 talent, so he doesn't want to compromise his time.
Mm-hmm. And how many teams in the top 10 have 2 picks in the first round? At least three of them.
I think 3.
Right? You have the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Texans.
You're testing me.
Right? Seahawks, Lions, Texans.
Are you testing me?
Well, I think I got him right.
But listen, so you're going to get 4 quarterbacks in the first 10 picks, though.
And I'm with you there. I am with you there.
Right? So you're running out of options.
You're running out of room.
And you're going to get
But if you're the number one player outside of those, I mean, next to Will Anderson, whoever you want to put over one another, both of them came in as 1 and 2 originally. You don't need a lot of breathing room.
Yeah.
So as much as we're like, man, you're limiting your options, I think you talked me into, hey, it's okay based on what you were saying.
And I'm not. I just think I know. I played with a guy that had an elite set of skills that wasn't always the greatest decision maker. And I just know he had some non-negotiables because for him, it boiled down to self-worth because I don't think he ever felt like he really had it growing up. And he finally had himself in a position of power, and he wasn't going to compromise. I just don't know how I could argue with that. It's not like I could say, hey, guy, don't do that. Because I understood what he was saying, right? He's like, man, DB, I went through this, and this my whole life. I'm not going to compromise this time. I'm finally in a position of power where that's why I wasn't mad at Reese for LSU. I couldn't care less, right? It just didn't move my needle. She finally was in a position of authority where she could share her opinion because everybody had shared theirs about her up until that point. So I wasn't tripping over that, but I just think that's what Carter's doing. And I think I'm okay with that just because, like, when you start compromising your self-worth, I think you're in trouble. Now, here's the problem, and you're super rational. So when you have an inflated sense of self-worth or the value you place on you isn't the worth, because there's a difference between value and worth that other people have in you, you could be rolling the dice. So we'll see if that's an issue.
Yeah. Also a great point.
There's a distinct difference between value and worth.
Based on where we are today, I think he's fine. But who knows in a month? Not even a month.
Yeah.
Who knows in a couple of weeks that this could easily change? Something else could surface.
The picture of me and my dad holding hands is worth millions. Doesn't have a ton of value on the open market, right?
Yeah.
Like it's different.
Now, what else doesn't carry a lot of value? I think it's the fact that
being under 6 foot.
I think it's the fact that Anthony Richardson is the 3rd overall pick, and the Colts trade up with the Cardinals in Todd McShay's mock drafts.
This is crazy, and I cheer for the Colts because of Gene Huey, Edgerrin James, and that's it. That's it. Former Nebraska running backs coach, went and coached at Indianapolis forever, and I'm a huge Edgerrin James guy. So the Colts have my interest. I'm not cheering for them. They have my interest. So I don't mind that franchise being good. The city was good to me. Indianapolis is a great place to live. A lot of homeless people, but that's okay. Who am I? can't do it though. I can't in good faith roll the dice on another high. I can't listen. I can't even stand the way he interviews. Is that a me thing?
Probably.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one.
Dude, I can't stand Levis either.
Yeah.
Dude, stay out of the mirror.
Well, he's the guy that does like the flex in front of the mirror.
Stay out of the mirror. Like, I'm telling you, vanity, pride comes before the fall.
Okay.
Like,
Worried about body
again,
size over anything else.
take it from a guy that don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not touching Richardson and I'm not touching Levis. If I'm wrong, man, I'll eat it. I swear to goodness, I will.
I think you won't be wrong about Levis. I think you could be wrong about Richardson.
You know why,
He's got the skill sets, he's got the talent, but
they if they come back the way that I think they could, they've got a good offensive line, borderline fantastic, and they can tote the rock. So you give my man some run action. He's got a stud in the backfield.
You can do something special with those two.
Yeah, they still got to go get a dog,
Michael Pittman outside.
Yeah, they need one more though.
Because they lost Campbell, and Campbell never was healthy enough to stay on the field.
They need one more. I get the surroundings. I do.
And defensively, they were pretty okay.
Yeah, no, they'll be fine.
So I can understand the Anthony Richardson, although I don't think it's worth trading up for because I don't think you're going to have an issue with somebody wanting to trade up for him. As much hype as he got out of the combine because of his numbers and his great combine scores. Look, Tim Tebow had a great combine score. So,
I'm not that dude.
So I'm not looking into combine scores and thinking this is the number one pick, because that's what people jump to right away. His odds to be number one jumped like 400 from 1,100 to 700 out of nowhere because of a good combine score. This is also a guy that threw for 2,500 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 picks, versus you're looking at a guy that threw for 3,332 touchdowns and 5 picks, and another guy that came out of the Big Ten that threw for 3,600 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 6 picks. These two, the latter two, are on a different level than Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. That's not to say they can't be good quarterbacks, but they're on a different level coming out of college, and it makes no sense that I would trade up for either of those.
So aren't we burying the lead though?
Bryce Young is 2 and CJ Stroud's 1?
Are we really going to act like, again, what would you give up for 2 inches? That's really the question. What would you give up for Shane? This answer doesn't apply to you because I know you'd kill for 1.
I don't have that problem.
But seriously, are we going to act like the best quarterback in the draft is not Bryce Young because he's not as big as CJ Stroud?
Yep. That's what people think. Okay. Because you don't have the size, because you don't have the weight. No. But Bryce Young can do more. He can make up for more mistakes.
6 foot Caleb Williams is the consensus.
You don't have to convince me at all. I am 100% on the Bryce Young train.
People just don't. And they're smarter than me. I know like 80% of those guys are smarter than me. Why do we roll the dice? What does the film say? But short shuttle, the 40. Oh, man, did you see that trade? Listen, man, that dude has played against top caliber competition, and he wins. He's the best decision maker. He's uncanny with the plays that he can make on the move, and he's a winner.
Let me ask you.
Have you ever looked at
David Carr and been like, man, why can't Derek be more like the guy that was a bust in New York? No, Derek turned out to be better, so you're good.
When it comes to height, just the extra weight that you can put on and carry around and be more efficient that way. Whereas if you're like 5 foot, you're maybe 120, to where you're about 6 foot, you're at least
120?
220. You get up to 6'6", you can get up to 300. I mean, just the amount, 2 more inches, you get the weight.
I don't think all of that matters at the end of the day. I really don't. What really matters is who's going to win you a football game. I don't need you to be the biggest guy on the football field. I want you to be the most explosive player on the football field. And if you're looking at the difference between a guy that played for one of the, I don't want to say the best because Alabama's been awesome, but 2021's Alabama team that team was great, right? Bryce Young threw for almost 5,000 yards. He had close to 50 touchdowns. And then this past year, Alabama, you watch them play and you're like, this doesn't seem like one of the great Alabama teams. Yet you look at the stats and they're still comparable outside of the yards and touchdowns. The ratings are relatively the same. The completion percentage is relatively the same.
And he missed time.
This is a guy that makes the best out of his situation, whether his team is great or whether they're not, and the numbers will still carry over and look the same. That's what I think about at the end of the day.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm Team B Young. I like Stroud. I don't love Stroud. Not to say he can't be a good quarterback. I don't like Richardson. Believe me, I'd love to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope I'm wrong and as a Colts guy, right? Like for the Colts. I don't want him to go to another team in the AFC, and I'm pissed because I'm a Steelers guy. But I'm still trying to decide between Porter Jr. and Whitner. Right, at the cornerback spot for the Steelers, but I guess I get so mad, man. It's like
you're mad.
But I understand because of the money that's associated with it. But when we're talking about an inch or an inch and a half or a tenth, I'm like, you guys, it says more about you than it. So, and part of it is, listen, so there, like in theory, right? Caleb has 3 more offers. 3. 1, 2, 3. You know why he doesn't tweet them out? Because
he doesn't need the attention?
Nope. He's mad. Why? Because they're coming to see him work out. I don't know, whenever it is, after my mom's birthday. So sometime after April 16th, right? That week. And they're like, hey, you can tweet it out. You basically got an offer. We just want to see you move around, see how you came back from the injury since you missed almost your whole junior year. He won't do it because he doesn't feel like it's real. The funny thing is, this is the difference between a coach and a dad. The funny thing is, the dad in me is like, okay, it's appreciate that. Well, you've definitely motivated him. Like, again, he was lifting this morning, right? So there's that, but then there's the coach in me. The coach says, like, what guys do I win with? Like, where would Bob Sanders have been drafted today? Right? Like, what did we not like? All these things go through my mind. All the people Nebraska didn't recruit because they didn't hit a certain 72-inch length or, whatever. And if we're splitting hairs between half an inch or wingspan or whatever, I'm just like, are you trying to disprove what you see, or are you trying to prove what you see? With this whole quarterback thing, you're trying to disprove what you see with Richardson and Levis because you don't see it in real games. No, I know, man, I can unlock the trick. I know there's a trick to it. Just let me get them in the doors. Okay, that's why, 58% of the quarterbacks bust. Because it's just one of those positions.
It's easier when you're chill in that setting, not feeling a lot of pressure, and you're tossing it around like you're in your backyard.
I just think it's weird. Right? Like, I don't know. I scratch my head sometimes at why you would look at a guy like Bryce Young and hold against him that he played with good players at that size, but we act like CJ Stroud didn't play with the best receivers in America for a couple of years because he's bigger. And oh, by the way, man, did you see Bama in the playoffs? He actually ran with the football. Woo. Stroud's a dude. If they had a kicker, he'd be the consensus number one because he'd be playing for a national title. I'm like, man, so we've all the way talked ourselves into this because we see and we hear what we want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, man.
I'm with you.
But these guys have been drafted a lot longer than I have, and so I default, right? But we're really gonna act like Richardson is a top 3 guy? And I'm not trying to hate. I'm just trying to say, like, your franchise is worth $1 billion and some change.
I thought, whoa.
Why would you roll the dice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can come up 7-11. Do you know how many other numbers are on the dice?
Hey, it feels like an April Fool's joke.
I can't even believe I missed that whole holiday.
I can't believe you didn't either. Or you,
So
you
it
missed
was
too.
it was Saturday, right?
It was Saturday, and there were a lot. If you were just scrolling on social media, and I know you were out, like
yeah. So that's
you were all over
the
place,
thing,
yeah.
right? I didn't get on Twitter until at
late,
night,
and then those were probably buried. But
there were
a lot of teams.
UFC and boxing was going, so I was like, I wasn't messing around.
A lot of teams, a lot of accounts tweeting out various things to skew the public. Even our producer Shane got caught. And an April Fool's mix up.
Oh, don't put our little dude on blast.
I'm not going to tell him why, but like it happens. Like it really does, because you're April Fool's Day goes under the radar. And
Hey, he said it super matter of fact too.
Yeah, well, you're just not expecting the holiday. So when you see something, you're like, oh my gosh, Twitter, like how are we not talking about this more and more? And you see a lot of likes on the tweet, a lot of traction. You're not reading into the comments. But
well, in past experience when it comes to being in radio, past bosses have told me and told other people that I've worked with on the shows that I've been on, don't give in to April Fools. So don't do the April Fools things. Don't do the jokes. Don't play into it. So to my defense, I mean, once it came around this, I wasn't even thinking about it. It's just a natural for me not to.
But you're not
play
the
into
only
it.
one, because people skip over that holiday all the
I
time.
didn't even know it was
just
happening.
Skip right over it. April Fool's is not something people
Is it a
care
holiday?
about.
Boy,
I
believe
wouldn't
it's-
call it a holiday.
I believe it's
And
considered.
not to go all Michigan Lance, but I think it's kind of cultural too. Like, I think historically it hasn't been something that like we vibe with.
Is April Fool's a holiday? I don't know.
I would say
so. You
no.
know what's funny about you? You're as consistent as the day is long. When I couldn't read my phone or I couldn't figure out stuff, you would literally Google what was wrong, and I'm
With your
like, "What are
phone.
you doing?" And you're like, "I'm a Google guy. I'm a Google
I
guy."
am.
Is it a holiday or not?
I don't think so. I think Shane's right. It says it's an annual custom, whatever that means.
Not a holiday.
Not a holiday. I mean, I would assume you would say holiday if it was a holiday.
April Fools.
I don't
Rogers
know.
goes over Richardson with the number 3 pick.
Let's talk Masters next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Quiet, please. We're on the eve of the Masters. Rory and the Masters this year. Do you have a take on just kind of what we might be able to expect from him there this year?
Yeah, I think he's better prepared to win this Grand Slam than he's ever been before, John. If he can deal with all the noise that's gone on off the golf course for him and come with a fresh mind and come fresh, you know, I really do think probably in the last 10 years, this is his best chance of winning it. I really do think that he's primed.
That was Paul McGinley, the winning captain of Europe in the 2014 Ryder Cup, joining our next guest, John Rathouz, host of Quiet Please on the Hurrdat Sports Network at Rathouz, Houz on Twitter. John, good morning. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Great to be here. Got my coffee.
Same. Got my coffee.
And the Hurrdat team, man, it's like high fives all around. It's like high five.
No, we do this in golf, DB.
I'm sorry, the quack.
Yeah,
I don't always look this ridiculous either. I cannot see, so I had to go to the readers. I'm
sitting next to Dr. Doolittle over there.
Oh, here we go. I tell you what, though, John, while we got you, if I could whisper, and not to animals, but to a golfer, what would I say in the ear of Tiger Woods, knowing he's the talk of the town? He's probably 65% of what he could be physically, and that's probably high. What would Dr. Doolittle whisper to Tiger Woods?
Well, I tell you what, if you're Joe LaCava, his caddy, I mean, you don't have to say much. I mean, that is probably up there on the Mount Rushmore of best athletes of all time. So he's been there done that. I think he's got a fresh perspective on things now. He got a chance to play at Riviera earlier this year. He played pretty well, and he knows this course inside out. So I think, for Tiger these days, it's about kind of managing his body. I think he manages his expectations a little bit differently, but I think he's here to win. He's plus 180 to finish top 20, which I think is an interesting bet to put on him. But I will tell you, with the weather this week that's forecasted, and it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. Thursday looks great. Then it gets kind of rainy and kind of windy and cold. So that could play to his hand, and that he's a chipper and a putter. He knows how to manage this place. Also, it could kind of bring up some of the aches and pains too. So, I think seeing Tiger on the mix on Sunday is not outlandish to think about. But there's a reason why he's not the favorite this week.
John, the Masters favors long hitters, but it's the approach game that usually stands out for the winners. Whose game have you been most impressed with entering this tournament? And same guy or not, keeping it with condition, whose game do you think translates best to the conditions, at Augusta National?
Yeah, you're right. Approach play is huge there. The golf course is longer than it's ever been. You have to find the right sections of these greens, miss it in the right place. And if your iron game is on that week, you're going to have a lot of looks at putting. And so, the big three this week, the new big three, you can't go wrong with any of those guys. We can make a case on any of them. Rory, Scheffler, Rahm. I think when I look at somebody that's coming in, that's hitting his irons unbelievably well right now, and has been for over or close to a year, that is kind of a fun name that you can get at a decent price, 22-1. I'm really keen on Tony Finau this week. I really am. I think, he's won 3 times since the last time he played at Augusta. Another name I'll throw at you is Colin Morikawa.
Yeah, there he
is. And then, we know Damon, the mental side, man. He's got that nailed. And then Sungjae M is another guy that I'm thinking about.
I want to stay right there, because we're in a pool tomorrow. We get the draft. We're going to serpentine it. And I didn't want to shoot my shot, but I don't think either one of them are going to take him, because he can be shaky with the putter, and he's burned me before, John. So I'm mad at him, but I'm going back to the wishing well with Colin Morikawa.
Yeah.
What? He's such a good ball striker. He's so steady Eddie. But why did you bring him up? Because I'm telling you, that's the guy that and our listeners are probably like, man, 2 years ago. I have some PTSD, unfortunately, when it comes to him. And I don't want to make light of that, but man, I'm going back to it. What do you see?
Well, with golf, Dave, you're losing more than you're winning. It's been like the Nebraska Huskers lately with golf. It's like every time you teed up, you can get burned left and right. So, and I'm a Husker fan too. I love them.
Wow.
All back to when you were playing, buddy. But I will say with Morikawa, he mentally can handle it. He's proven it. He's got one of the best mental edges in the game. So on Sunday on the back nine, he's not gonna, cower to the moment a little bit. I think my only question with him, the putting kind of comes and goes. He did make some changes at the beginning of the year. Kind of went back to more traditional grip. He had a hot putting week right out of the gates, and then it's been, here and there. His chipping is kind of what concerns me. His short game around the green hasn't been as great. So if this gets into a chipping and putting contest, maybe not as high on him, but mentally huge. And I think people are overlooking him a little bit this week, which is exactly what you want. When we just saw this whole NCAA tournament unfold, people, we get on board with the favorites, and sometimes they get it done. But the guys that we're not talking about as much are the ones you need to really take a look at.
John, the LIV and PGA back together for the Masters could either be a welcome home party for some players and fans, or it could be a cold shoulder affair. I think I'm leaning more to the latter, but that's just me. Men's golf has been divided ever since the start of the LIV, but current Masters criteria is all about bringing the best golfers to the biggest stage, PGA or not. So where does your mind sit with this merger for golf's biggest tournament?
Yeah, it's been really, I don't want to say destructive, but it's been a crazy year plus for golf. in general. I think the Masters does a great job of making the Masters the biggest story of the week. So I don't think you're going to hear a lot of that. I think it'll be interesting tonight. A lot of people are interested in what's going to go on at the Champions Dinner. I don't think we'll hear much about it. All the players are saying like, hey, those are my buddies. I'm cool. Do whatever you want for your family. But then you get in the press conferences and it gets a little bit more chirpy. So I think people are interested to see, is there going to be a battle like earlier this year? You had Rory McIlroy taking down Patrick Reed over in the Middle East early on to start the year. I mean, people would love to see that.
How about those guys on the back nine?
I mean, and it sets up great for Patrick this week. Here's my thing with the Live guys. I don't think one of them is going to win this week. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few of them in the mix. I think everybody was hoping that Cam Smith was in a little bit better form coming in this week, but he could take off at a moment's notice. You got Koepka, DJ, Patrick Reed. Those are the guys I kind of got my eye on for the most part. But interested to see. They've only played 3-4 times this year. A lot of these guys played 6, 7, 8 times. They've played 54 holes. Like, I think that's going to be – now, this isn't their first 72-hole tournament, of their life. So they know how to do it. But it is going to be an interesting storyline to watch.
All right, so let me ask you something, because we're going to take a long shot tomorrow too. So the guys that are like 40-1 or greater, and I know Brooks is right on the fringe, but I'm going to put him in this group. So I get the Hideki Matsuyamas, I get the Hovlands, Will Zalatoris. Some people like here. If I'm looking for somebody kind of in that 40-ish to 1. Are there some guys you like? And maybe it's M because he's right there, and you mentioned him early. But are there some guys that you like in that spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think M's he's at 33, and he's like he's a great price on your DraftKings lineup too. I think he's kind of an auto play. You mentioned Hideki played good last week, has won here before. To win it again, man, maybe a tall order. So here's the guy, and you talked about Morikawa. I talked about Finau. I like to root for guys that you like to see put the jacket on at the end of the day. Like, it makes it a little bit more.
For me,
fun.
that's Jason Day.
But Jason Day's odds this week are like,
I know, 20. Yeah.
I think Jason Day is. I love to see him playing well again. I think it's probably didn't sound even from clips yesterday like he was quite expecting to win the Masters. Now. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he does. Like, is he chalky in your DraftKings lineup? Is he a great value at 22-1? I went down the board, and I don't know. This is a blast from the past. And this guy runs parallel to one Sergio Garcia. This guy is playing in his 18th Masters this year. This guy won earlier this season at Pebble Beach. This guy's finished second at Augusta National 2 times. Would you not love to see Justin Rose wearing a green jacket on Sunday?
He can't close.
They can't get him out. He's like he just won't go away.
He can't close. He always does so well in the early rounds, and then all of a sudden you get to Sunday, and he's shooting +5.
Hey, John, real quick, what happened to Fleetwood? I mean, it was pretty fleeting, right? I mean,
no pun intended.
Fudge came and went. What's wrong with Fleetwood?
Fleetwood is kind of the similar story, right? Just struggles with the closing. But I will say this week, I'm gonna probably stick him in one of my lineups, and he could be a great value there, Dame. Because here's the thing: he's hitting it well, and he actually putts it better than people think. And he's one of the best chippers in the field, especially when the weather's crappy. Is Tommy going to win the whole thing? He could back his way into it. I mean, jot him down too. Some of these guys that are mutters. They might find themselves in a really good situation this week. So I don't mind Tommy Fleetwood this week in your lineup.
Don't sleep on Cameron Young.
Hey,
either.
You're the man, John.
Don't sleep
on
doing
Cameron
this again. Young either. The value pick there, a guy that can drive it and can use his irons. Like John said, you need your irons this week.
And he's got a new caddy on the bag, Paul Tesori, one of the greats. And they finished third their first week out, second their first week out in the match play. So yeah, I mean, Cam Young, sky's the limit. I really like Cam at the PGA Championship this year.
Ooh, tease. John, we appreciate you, man.
Hey,
thanks.
Well
so much.
Done.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoy the week.
We'll do this again. We
Thanks,
absolutely
John.
will. That is John Rathouz. And when we come back, we will do the Sports Six-Pack.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back as we wind this thing down. It is Sports Six-Pack time, and you know the drill, Shane. We need to hear that intro, so let's get to it.
Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
And we appreciate Zipline Brewing for always being there for us, especially during the Sports Six-Pack, because we need at least 6 beers to get through the questions, or at least Shane does more times than not. And Shane, as the questions hit your inbox now, let me know when you got them. We appreciate all our listeners out there that send in these questions. Now,
I got them.
Before we get into the Sports Six-Pack, I'll take a moment and tell you about one of my favorite cases of Zipline Brewing. It's the Copper Alt, Zipline's most awarded beer. And why am I bringing this up? Because, well, it's golf week, baby. And they're Great American Beer Fest and U.S. Open Beer Championship gold medalists. That is the Copper
Alt. Lot of energy, man. You all right?
An easy drinking amber ale, malty and balanced flavor. A great beer for any occasion, preferably for the Masters this week. I am okay.
Question number 1.
Thanks for asking.
Goofball.
Talked a lot of trash yesterday. Talked a lot about trash talk yesterday. If you were playing in the national championship game, would you be your go-to trash talk?
How about what would be your go-to trash talk?
Well, I mean, they got the sunlight over here and stuff.
The sunlight? What sunlight? The sun's not even out.
I don't know.
Your go-to trash talk.
What would be your go-to trash talk?
I wasn't much of a trash talker.
And I'm not cool either, so because I don't cuss. So it's like, what am I gonna say? I remember my go-to. I didn't have a go-to. I did tell Tony George one time he played DB for Florida. I told him I was gonna take his soul. And I got him on a kick return against Florida. And he had to leave the game. But once I knew he was hurt, like I didn't like talk crazy. But I'll tell you the best thing ever said to me though. We were playing Florida State, and I was on the sidelines. Got hit, good tackle. This was in '93, and I had a linebacker tell me, "Don't get up." He wanted to see my liver bleed. I said, "Oh,
Nice.
that's what we're on today." No, I didn't use that term back then, but I was just like,
See,
I'm not I don't know.
I was more of the guy that like was either more sarcastic or said it to myself, not to somebody else. So like in baseball, when I grew up catching, it was one of those things where I would like say like, "Oh yeah, this guy's out. Like I'm throwing him out at first base. He's taking a bigger lead." And right as I threw it, I'm like, "Yep, got him." Like before it actually happened. So I think I was more like into my own game than trash talking somebody else. Or if somebody tried to say something to me, I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
So I think
Okay,
the patented one when I was in my heyday was all day.
all day.
And LP used to say, "Not here, not today, not ever."
Yeah.
And I used to be like,
Playing pickup
"Ah."
basketball now, if I hit 2 threes in a row, I'll scream heating up like I'm playing beer pong.
Oh Lord.
So like I don't know, I just get loud. Is that something new?
No. How about a beer? Number 2.
That's what Captain America would say. I can do this all day.
Yep, Steve Rogers. Great last name.
Question number 2.
Different spelling.
No, same.
Is it?
It
Just
is
a G?
same. Just a G.
Name an NFL draft bust you wish panned out.
I've got 2. One hits close to home, and the other one is a player that I really wanted to see succeed. The first I'll say is Kevin White. When Kevin White was drafted, and what was that, like 15, 17? I wish he would have panned out.
2. One's easy. LP. I wish Lawrence would have panned out.
Can you imagine having Diggs or Lockett in that draft? Oh, way to go, Bears.
And the other one is kind of off topic. Taylor Mays, safety from UCLA or USC.
I wish Johnny Manziel would have panned out.
I wish Taylor Mays, severe still, he has that. Remember, we've gone back and forth over draft guys, where I was right, where I was wrong. I whiffed on Taylor Mays.
Yeah, I wish Johnny Manziel would have been good.
Yeah.
A lot of hype. Yeah, coming out of college. Kind of that Baker Mayfield swag. Also a guy that didn't pan out.
Although Baker's still rolling.
Yeah, he is. Johnny did not. If he's rolling into anything, he's rolling in the
his 6'4".
Yeah, he's rolling up stuff.
Do.
There's about 10 or 15 Raider guys that I wish would have panned out. But
just 10 or 15?
Hey, you know what? I'll just drink beer.
Question number 3.
He knows he ain't drinking.
What makes Coach Rhule so mesmerizing to you? Could be anything. Just what about how he conducts his business is so mesmerizing?
I'll go first. I'll keep it recent too. Did you notice that he said he took notes when Coach Osborne went and talked and spoke at his coach's clinic, as in Rhule's coach's clinic? May not seem like a big deal, but how many people would actually jot things down after they step aside to bring in a guest speaker during something they're hosting? I mean, that's just how badly Rhule wants to win and turn around this program. We talked unification last Friday. Only way to do that is by learning from the best to ever do it. And he's not worried about the status of the head football coach at Nebraska. He just wants to win and develop young men. I think that's what's so mesmerizing. The stuff he does away from practice and people.
Wow. How much time we got?
You got about 4 minutes, but we need to get through.
I know it takes me about 4 minutes to say it because there's so much. So if I had one takeaway, I just like his authenticity, right? So whoever he is, like, he's not afraid to let you see that part of it. He can make himself vulnerable. He's not always right. He can kind of laugh at himself. He's super authentic, and he's consistent, right? Like, I think his consistency is something that this football team needs. But I'll take his authenticity, number one.
Question number 4.
If you are playing a 2-person scramble with somebody at this year's Masters, who are you choosing, whether you're playing to win or not?
Easy.
Let's take Tiger out of this.
Oh,
Let's take Tiger out of it because I think we would both choose Tiger.
yeah. I'd take Tiger.
So let's take him out of it. Who are you choosing?
I'm gonna take. It's tough. I was either gonna take Dustin Johnson or Justin Thomas.
Okay.
But having said all that, I'm gonna take Rory McIlroy.
And why Rory?
Because I think he's a fantastic storyteller and I think he's a straight shooter.
See, I think I would like to get into the head of
Phil Mickelson?
dude. No way.
I want because I almost
And
said that. But I just don't know if I would like him long enough.
So
he's the most interesting for sure.
But I also want to get into Phil's head because he went to the live. And I kind of want to know a little bit about both.
I want to know about everything.
Well,
the kids, the
yeah.
growing up a certain way with the courses, the wife's
I want to know why he's swinging the wrong way.
Like, yeah, I mean Phil's up there, but I'll take Rory.
I would say Phil because I could get a lot out of him.
I would take Jordan because he's younger and he'd probably be a little bit more fun than some of the old guys out there.
You better be
Michael?
secure because he's going to say some things.
Speed?
Yeah.
You can't putt, so you better be able to putt.
And he talks reckless too. Like,
that would be fun.
He says whatever he wants.
Number 5.
A blank plane ticket is handed to you. You get to write down the destination and go anywhere in the world. Where are you going?
Italy.
New Zealand. Are you going to
Good
see
choice.
Tupac?
Ooh. He is still alive.
He's chilling. Although he's about to move though.
Yeah.
I thought he was in France now.
No, he's
He may be in Greenland, which I found out over the weekend is a part of Denmark.
I'm going to New Zealand.
Yeah, I'd say Italy just because I love Italian food.
Ooh. I didn't even think about what I was going to eat. Just looking at
Spiders.
Maybe Greece. Nah, I'm going to New Zealand.
Number 6.
Is the transfer portal ruining college football and other sports for teams with top athletes at smaller schools?
No.
And cry me a river if it is.
No, I hear this question a lot.
You do.
And it's because of people that either attended smaller mid-major schools or even smaller schools just in general. It's because they're worried about like, oh, wow, we produced this great player and now he's going to go play for the big SEC school or the big Big 12 school. We'll keep basketball, for example. When you take a guy from, we'll use this, say somebody at UNO was really good and then went on to play in the SEC, UNO fans are going to be like, see, like this is why like I hate the transfer portal because like you're just stealing our good player. But no,
Frankie Fiddler to Arkansas, is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that, but I'm more on the side of saying do what's best for the athlete. The best thing for the athlete is to go to the bigger school because it's going to turn out to be best for them, especially with NIL.
Lockstep with you.
We appreciate it, Shane.
And plus the coaches at those smaller schools, like they can be known as the guys that can get guys.
Right. And if you're a fan, be a fan.
Yeah.
Don't try to voice your opinion on how the impact of this player moving from your school to a bigger school affects the rest of the sport. It's all fluid.
My man, he said get the Paulina sighting with DJ. I don't like Paulina. And they're on again, off again. It's a crapshoot.
Oh, we love golf. We love golf.
Yes, we
It
do.
starts here soon. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you back again tomorrow morning.